I have like some very specific thoughts about drawing, like when you're out to draw, that part of like the process to make yourself relax and stuff when you're drawing, and like I feel like I've gotten it down to a bit of a science. Like I need to have like at least half of the book empty. It's these mental tricks that I play on myself to make myself relax, and I get a better line. And I know it sounds very strange, but it's like as I'm drawing, I don't want to be thinking about anything else other than drawing. I'm trying to replicate the feeling of the life drawing studio and the disposable nature of the paper with the sketchbook, because I find that gives you a more fluid line, because you're playing psychological tricks with yourself. So I actually this is my favorite sketchbook, is this type. And I like it because the paper is, like, you get a lot of pages. I think, what is it? You get 100 sheets in this book. It's good because you can just flip the page like this, and it's like you get a nice clean edge. You're not like fighting with a hard spine or something like that. And it's cheap. Yeah. That's really a requirement for me. It has to be cheap. Also, the pen, this is my favorite pen.
Right.
Yeah. One of these Pilot, it's like a little Pilot pen, because I like when you're pressing on the paper, like you get that thick and thin, you can really dig and stuff with the pen. So I really love this pen, and specifically the V7. I've tried the V5, which is thinner.
Don't feel like I'm that. We're all very specific that way. We all have our specific kind of pens we like. Yeah. It's important.
Yeah, like I find like I'm looking for that thick and thin line. Again, it's all about like recreating the studio thing, and I like specifically working with a pen as opposed to pencil, because you are committing. Like you have to commit.
Yep.
That's what it's always about.
I'm a chicken shit. I work color race blue, indigo blue. That's I always start there, and then I want to ink. And
But that's what's interesting is that's the safe way.
Yeah.
Like, and it's, there's a place for that. Like, I don't want to knock materials, but this is like what I find, like specifically what I found through trial and error, what frees me up the most. And it's like, as I'm drawing, if I'm working on a moleskin, as I'm drawing, I'm like judging the artwork, because I go, oh my God, this is $1 a page.
It's a precious book.
Yeah, it's a precious object. I don't want that when I'm drawing. I want it to be like as garbage as newsprint. So like, think of it as a way, like if you just will be drawing and you're gonna burn through pages and maybe they actually catch on fire and you never see the drawing again, then it kind of frees you. And I find that gives you a looser line. Like when I'm drawing, if I start, like let's say I'm looking at somebody across the room who I'm drawing, and I start with like a line and I don't like it, I'll flip the page.
Yeah.
And you can't do that when it's $1 a page and you've only got like 25 pages in the whole book. So like you'll see, I've got here, there's like a page where it's just the beginning of something, I didn't like it, and I just like, screw it, and I flipped it. And then eventually I get to the point, like there's all these blank pages in my sketchbook because I just wasn't feeling it, and I just got rid of it and just moved on. And like that's super, super important to me, to that just freeing up your line. So one of the best places to find in a park situation will be like a group of people. So it could be picnickers, birthday party. They're really great because they're all busy doing things, so you get a great variety. The other good thing is they're busy, so they won't necessarily notice your drawing, so you could probably sit right across from them on a bench and you just blend in with all the other things happening, because on a weekend it gets quite busy at the park in the summer. Think about what the story is that you're telling. So a lot of people now are on cell phones when they're by themselves. So come up with a story. It can be imagined, you can come up with it yourself, it doesn't have to be true, but to help your drawing and evolve it into more of an illustration. It can be, you think of what's the context of them on their cell phone? Are they sad about a message that they got? Are they just sitting alone by a tree waiting for somebody to meet them? All of these things, if you keep them in the back of your mind while you're drawing, they're going to end up elevating your drawing into more of an illustration, which is the goal, really.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So there's a whole little mini industry of sketchbooks. People buy people print publishing their sketchbooks.
Yeah.
And I think, do you think it contributes to, because those are not like just taking your sketchbook and having it printed.
No,
Those
they're edited.
They're totally edited. They're composed. All that kind of stuff. How do you feel about those?
I think, as with so many things, like when you think of just Instagram and whatever, like people are picking and choosing the best examples what to show people, and like that gives you so much of a burden and an unfair expectation about what you should be as an artist.
Because I love seeing people's sketches.
Yeah.
But it makes me feel, when I look at my sketchbook, it doesn't look like those sketchbooks, and I feel like it's crap. Like it puts it in an unrealistic place.
Yep, for sure.
And this, so again, the disposability that you're creating. I could go back and take the drawings out of that and edit together a great looking publishable sketchbook.
I just want to remove this thinking that it's a precious object, because like I'm honestly, it is a Zen thing for me. It's about eliminating all of the distractions and just being in the moment. And like we carry, especially I think as animators, but also fine artists, carry so much baggage about their sketchbook. But there's something about animation in particular that I've noticed over the years. Animators have so much angst, and it really is angst when it comes to their sketchbook, and I find that so fascinating. It's like, I find that as a topic is like, I want to dig into that, because like the first thing I ask is, where is that coming from? Because like if I'm drawing or I talk about my sketchbook with people, the first thing people say when they look at my drawings is, oh, I wish I could draw. Like if it's a layman kind of average person. Yeah. Even if it's an animator though, I'll talk to, and they'll say, oh, I wish I drew as much or something. But it's like, I don't know how often as animators we ask ourselves, well, why are we thinking that way? And I think it comes from just this idea of like, it could be with our exposure to what we see online, like amazing artists on, I don't know if DeviantArt is a thing anymore. I guess it is. It was when I was into anime, buddy. But yeah, like I think we place so much pressure on ourselves, but everyone can draw. And like you think of when you were a kid, you weren't, like you just drew until that one moment where the little jerk of a kid in your class looked at your drawing of a cat and went, that doesn't look like a cat, that looks like a poo. And you feel so bad. And I think that is the source for like the average person. And for somebody who is naturally good at drawing, as you go through public school and stuff, you self-identify as the good artist. So I think this might resonate with a lot of animators. You think of yourself as the good artist, and that's how you judge your worth, like your self-worth. So as you go through your life and you go to school and then you work in the industry, the flip side of that is, if I do a bad drawing, am I a bad artist? Am I a bad person?
Okay.
So that is the kind of thing that makes your drawing, like especially in life drawing, it makes your drawing stiff. Because as you're drawing and you're judging yourself, that's why the drawing is stiff. So with my artistic practice, I guess I'm always trying to eliminate like any judgment, and that's why I try to be kind to myself as like by not buying an expensive sketchbook, like thinking of it as disposable, because it's about letting go of just that baggage, and it's the hardest thing to do.
And I think it's common outside of just even animation, like so art.
Yeah.
Art, I mean, before I knew I wanted to do this, I knew that art was something in my life, but we all, like there's so much bullshit that we deal with getting to it, and I mean, I envy people who don't have to intellectualize this whole process and they just do it. They just bravely go forth and just do and make and all that kind of stuff. Because like for me, art, nothing's more intimidating than a blank canvas. A canvas is terrifying.
Yeah.
That's when my sketchbook was safe, but a canvas was terrifying.
Yeah.
And the notion of making something, there's a permanent commitment and a permanence to that.
Yeah.
And when my own daughter started getting into art, I wanted to do it. I basically said I'm going to create I'm not going to do it for her. I'm not going to try to, but I'm going to try to enable it in any way I know, in any way I can. And I bought her like 20 shitty sketchbooks.
Yeah.
And just put a stack of them in the basement. And I just put things out so it's all available, and so there's no block there.
Yeah.
And make it just like the easiest access possible, because for me it was that canvas, the blank canvas. And so even though I think art should be accessible and shouldn't be on a pedestal, I myself put it on a pedestal. And so I've been struggling with, and then as a comic book kid in art classes, I was told that what I was doing wasn't real art. And yet the guy next to me, who was not an artist but was taking art. This is why I hate being an artist. You can see the struggle even me trying to talk about it, because I can't call myself a fucking artist.
Yeah,
because for some reason that has a capital A on it.
Yeah.
And that's like, it kills me.
Yeah.
But this guy, so my buddy Omar, who was a lovely fellow and worked really hard on this painting of an eagle. And it was a blue sky with a painting of an eagle, and it looked like a paint by numbers kind of thing. And he got like an 85, and I was doing this thing that was like, I was taking classic compositions like Liberty Leading the People, and I was using like vintage World War II superhero imagery, and I would use Crayola markers because to me they were like the lowest. I just wanted to use broad colors that kind of reproduce, and I would take those compositions and reproduce them with these characters from old World War II comics, and I was overthinking this stuff so much, and trying to create these things that to me were somehow art, reconciling this thing that was comic books, because that's what my teacher was asking me to do.
Yeah.
And I was getting like a 70.
Yeah.
And she would look at it and she'd tell me, well, that's just imagery. And I'm looking over, and not to besmirch my buddy, but I'm like, well, how is that not?
Yeah.
He painted an eagle.
Yeah.
And yet what I was doing wasn't art, and yet what he was doing, it's so complicated.
Yeah.
And so then when you get out, so all I can do is doodle. That's all I do, because it's trying to just like hide and do this thing that isn't art.
Yeah.
So again, the thing I did a couple years ago, which was these Post-its. It was my morning thing, and it was to me, it's actually probably the most artistic thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
But it was almost straight to ink.
Yeah.
And it was on Post-its, and it would take me 20 minutes in the morning.
And how interesting is it that you chose Post-its?
But it was totally the same as you're doing. I chose it because it's a disposable medium and it means nothing.
Yeah.
And no one could ever tell me that was art. And yet it's the thing that was the most gratifying and artistic maybe thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
And that is, you have to kind of trick yourself around these bullshit ideas that get in our head for 1,000 different reasons.
People impose it on you, right? So you have to say, screw it. Who cares what people think?
Yeah.
Like, why it's so important to do your own work, I think, is animation is all about speaking in somebody else's voice. This is the function of the pipeline.
Yeah.
Even the director doesn't get to speak in their own voice. They're answerable to a client. There's scripts that are given to you and you have to interpret them. The only opportunity that you can speak in your own voice as a person in animation is if you make your own film. People find that very intimidating though, because they place so much baggage, like, oh my god, like this is my film, like especially student films. It's like, this is my Pixar moment. Like this is I'm gonna make my family proud. I'm gonna get into Pixar. I'm gonna like move to California. I'm gonna live the life in Burbank. Like, you know, like, and it's, first of all, not everyone can be that.
Yeah.
Secondly, like, that's not a great place to be creating from. Like, that's so negative, and it's not about you. Like, I think you have to find something creative that is about you, and you do it for you. Like, one of my favorite things in the world is my mom's drawings. Yeah. My mom always says how much she is such a bad artist. And she's like, no, you're the artist. I'm like, my mom, she just like is a closed caption editor. Like, she's technical computer kind of person. But like, she does these charming, adorable drawings, and I'm like, Mom, like, you are not even judging yourself. You're just drawing your weird whatever, and like, it looks like this amazing, like, it looks like a New Yorker comic. And I'm like, do you realize how good this is? You don't even know. And she's like, no. But like,
if she has drawings, then she is drawing, and then I mean, like, it's.
But everyone draws.
Yeah.
everyone draws. That's what's funny.
People
do stop, but everybody can draw.
Everyone starts out drawing.
Yeah, everybody it's so interesting to me. What is the moment where we stop? Why do we stop? And I think in every single case, we don't stop because we want to stop. We stop because somebody told us we weren't good. I think it's innate in everyone.
So I came out from the other way, and I'm always asking everyone, where's your point of affirmation that encourages you to keep going?
Yeah.
Like and it is, some people really they can pinpoint this one drawing they did that their grandmother put up on the fridge, or and I think it's got to be a combination of the two. Because I think if you have some aptitude towards it, you're less likely to get that that looks like poo.
Yeah,
you know,
that comment from the jerky.
Because it's either like some other kid in your class comes over and, can you draw a robot for me?
Yeah, and it becomes a currency.
Yeah.
Like I went to a middle school where, it wasn't it was kind of sports oriented, and some kids were bullied or whatever, but oh man, I wasn't popular. Don't get me wrong. Of course I wasn't popular. But I had currency, and I would be able to, people wanted me on their group assignments because we would get a higher mark because I could do the visual thing and it will look cool or whatever.
And it gave you identity then.
But I didn't really, I just kind of used it as a tool. I didn't self-identify as I'm valuable because the popular kids like my drawings or something. I'm
but
whatever.
You're still the person who gets asked to do the poster.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, I think part of growing as an artist, especially once you get to college, and then especially once you get in the industry, it's you can't self-identify by how people perceive you anymore. That's a mask.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
You will become depressed, I think. And you have to keep up with your own drawings. I think it's so important. So yeah, when I look at this guy, the first thing I think of is what actually drew me to look at him. I like his red shirt, and I like his pose. He's sitting at a picnic table. Looks like he's reading something. He's got a little iced tea or something there. A sandwich. At the end of the day, most people are perfectly happy to be drawn. But I do find there has been a real shift in what people are comfortable with over the past 5 years. People used to be more flattered by it, but I think there's real concern about privacy these days. But I find most people don't even realize they're being drawn, and if they do, they're pretty happy with it. The key is to just have a pleasant air about you so you don't scare people. It's this extreme idea I think we have just in our culture in general about what it is to be an artist, is if you're not doing it full time, you're not an artist. But maybe, this is what I like about the animation as a field, is since it's a lot of the time it's contract based, so you can work for a while and accrue some savings.
Can you?
And then it depends on how much you pay for rent. But depending on how you live your life, you might be able to get some savings, or EI is the blessing to us all. But anyway, so you get that little in between contracts. Maybe that's when you really work on your own stuff. I've known people that have taken a year off and they've saved for a couple of years maybe, and they just take that time. And they say, okay, you know what? I'm going to do my own paintings. I'm going to do my own work. And you just have to approach it as a job in that way, and just value your own time as much as you value the studio.
Yeah, and that's a huge challenge, because the temptation to piss away half of that playing video games is huge.
Oh, it's huge. But it's just about really asking yourself what's important to you. It comes back to what other people think of us, being motivated to act based on being this good person. Oh, I'm the good worker. But then when it's for yourself, why would you not do that for yourself? Why don't you be the good worker for yourself?
No, I wish I could tell you.
Nobody knows. Like, these are hypotheticals.
Yeah, I mean, I've spent my whole adult life working on other people's projects.
Yeah, but it's so interesting. I think most of us have, like, and even me, I struggle with it too. Like, I could, just puts away time, like, just on the internet or something, and like you're tired after work. Yeah. But like you. And then there's like certain artists that you'll see on Instagram, and they're like waking up at the crack of dawn, and they're Instagramming like, hey, like I just did this drawing like at 6 a.m. or whatever, and that makes you feel terrible because you're like, I can't do that.
And then that becomes
that feeds
a pit.
into the
exactly.
loop.
That's all part of that pit.
It's the self-loathing
and shame.
I think so many artists have that for sure.
But then there are those people who just seem to be machines.
But seem to be.
I know.
It's
I know.
never
again,
what
it's
it seems on the surface.
Lifestyle. It's the same.
Yeah.
It's the Facebook lifestyle, the Instagram lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. They have their own struggles. Like everyone, it's a struggle. Like life is a struggle, and I think we until we can accept that, you can't really move on. Like you have to just realize this is another thing that I hear a lot is like people, and I have it myself, is like you'll go through a period where you don't feel creative. And like you don't, like I've had this with my drawings and my sketchbook. You might go through several months, you might go through 3 years where you don't really produce a lot of your own stuff. And then that becomes a loop too, because you think like you start feeling bad about yourself and this guilt, and the guilt gets worse and worse and worse. You think, oh God, like I didn't produce anything this year. Who am I? What am I? I'm just like a worker or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then that just kills your motivation to get up and go again. Right. But like, there's nothing stopping you from starting again. Like, why are we judging ourselves for that break?
Okay, but that's even a trap. So you're starting again.
Yeah.
So, because every time you stop, you think you're stopped, and you're starting. It's the same thing with like physical activity, exercise. Yeah. I'm starting again right now. Nice. I went for like about 3 or 4 runs in the last week or 2. Yeah. But like it's always like it makes it a more insurmountable hurdle in that you feel like you're starting from scratch. Yeah. It's just I just put down my pen for a while, and now I'm picking it up again, and maybe it was a longer gap between them. Why is it a break? Why is it, you know, like
that's interesting.
It should just be more.
Yeah,
it's just a bigger
is just
gap.
More. It's just a gap. Like it's a thing. It's whatever it is, and it's just like it's the ebb and flow. Yeah. Like I think we have this idea that the trajectory is always upward in our development, and sometimes it's not. We'll go up and then we'll plateau for a bit. And then as we plateau and we look at our drawings and we go, oh my God, I'm plateauing. And then we have that realization, you're judging. And then when you judge, it starts going down. You go, oh my God. And it's like the housing market in Toronto is about to do like next month. Right. It goes down and down and down. And then you get to the bottom. But the nice thing about being at the bottom is you're at the bottom and you can only go up, like Drake says. But yeah, like it's just one of those things where this is the journey, and like be more into the journey than the end result. And like it comes back to the sketchbook. Like the sketchbook, like what I love about line when you're drawing is like a tunnel right into your subconscious. Like whatever you're thinking about translates into your drawing. Like when I look at somebody's drawing, I can often tell like where they started. Mm-hmm. Like so many people when they're beginning, they always want to work on like the eyes, like the right eye is always the thing. Whatever eye is like closest to you, people always want to draw first when they're first starting out. But like this is just like getting caught up in the details and stuff. And yeah, it's just we have to like let that stuff go and not worry about making a pretty picture. Yeah. And that's something that you hear a lot, like in school, is don't worry about making a pretty picture. But we don't, like there's knowing it through the words, but then there's a deep knowing.
Yeah, you never know what those things mean. You hear these words, you hear these instructions, you don't know what any of it means. Yeah. And until you've done it 1,000 times and something changes. I
like honestly approach it like photography. It's like as if I were going out and I was doing street photography. Yeah. That's the closest equivalent I would make to it.
That makes perfect sense when you see your stuff. Because
like when I look at a scenario that captures me in some way, like I talk about the decisive moment, it's drawing me in some way, and I just want to capture it. And it's the process, like the satisfaction of having captured it, and just observing and being like it's trying to imagine you are that person when you're drawing. And I know that's something we hear about in life drawing a lot, but it's just being like part of that story, and I'm especially interested in people's like other people's stories, and just observing. Like I love the way like people move, and I love like the details of like when you're in a coffee shop and there's like all these cups and stuff stacked up, and just like what's the environment look like. Like I don't often see in people's sketchbooks like a quick rendition of a background. There was this artist that I love called Walter Trier, and he's not well known, and he's an illustrator from like the World War II era is where he got his became most well known. But he did a lot of work like it was like posters like to help like the troops like boost their morale and stuff, and they would like actually like send the comics like over the airplane and like put it on the field, and like it would be like making fun of like Nazis or whatever. But that was a part of his career. But then later, like after the war, he ended up doing a lot of illustration and like children's books, and like a lot of work about like a peace and harmony and everything. But I love his style, and he's really well known in Europe, I believe, but not so much in Canada, even though he lived in Toronto. But you can see his work at the AGO. They have the Artist Studies Center at the AGO, and so with your ticket, if you go on a Wednesday during the day, you can just go into the study center, and like anybody can go, and it has like this whole archive of AGO. Like for those who aren't from Toronto, AGO is Art Gallery of Toronto, or Ontario, Art Gallery of Toronto. And you can see like, you know, Dürer, or you could see Michelangelo drawings or whatever. But I was especially interested in this artist. Like some of the people that worked there just got me onto this artist. And when I was in between contracts, I would go every single Wednesday and draw from him. And I attribute a lot of my simplicity in the backgrounds to his works, because I would like actually take a physical drawing, like a painting, and put it in front of me, and I have my sketchbook, and I'd like copy it. And he's just so great at simplifying backgrounds. And like for me, a breakthrough in that point, that was in my early 20s, a breakthrough for me was you don't have to finish the shape. Like when you're drawing fast, we always think we have to close the shapes. We don't have to. And as when you're drawing backgrounds in a sketchbook drawing, as things go further away, you can just like not close the shape, and the further they are away, the more you can simplify. And you can use things like little ticks and stuff to show like the texture of like a sweater or something on a figure, and it's just thinking graphically in that sense. Like so that was a big influence for me.
So I mean that's a very regular kind of question of people who are learning to draw, and that kind of, it's because it's. I mean, where does copying end, and where does end learning? And it's like you're just looking to see how someone else solves problems.
That's exactly it.
It's just it's creative problem solving, and so you're if you're understanding the process, and and replicating it helps you own that, helps you learn to process it.
It's get the muscle memory.
And so you're just seeing, okay, clearly this person was able to communicate that this way, and then maybe you take some of that with you, maybe you don't. But you'll never get it unless you try.
You have to do like it's not good enough to just look at pictures. And I find it so valuable to look at the original artwork if you can. Like, oh my God, at the AGO, like you can do that. You can get like the Michelangelo and put it in front of you. They give you white gloves. You have to sign a waiver. And there's like this like no food and drink. And you go in like this special room, and it's like beautiful. There's like skylight and like a garden you can look at. And you're just like at these long tables, and the people who are sitting around you are like professors from like Europe and stuff. You just sit there and like, and it's just for, like with the cost of your ticket. And it's on Wednesdays, like afternoon. I believe it's like 1 to 4. So you just show up. Like you don't, and the rule is you can't bring pen. So you bring your sketchbook and pencil and an eraser, and you sit and you can draw from anything. And you like it's so amazing. You can look like you can then see like how they dug in. And what I love is like going to the AGO or somewhere like that is you'll see like a Michelangelo drawing, and you'll see how many times he drew the hand. Like he's like draws it this way, or the leg. He's like does it in all these different views, and something you'll never get from a book, because they'll like Photoshop away that sort of like thing, but if you look at the original, you can see how he erased it, and like the faint little, like where he was digging in with the pencil, and you can see the remnant of that original.
Well, that's also because what's kind of fascinating is that, and it's more like when I look at my drawings from when I was young and learning, I would redraw on the same page. I go to erase and redraw.
Yeah.
Because for me the paper was more scarce than it is now. I didn't have 30 sketchbooks. I didn't have and when you look at someone like that, paper was more of a slightly rarer commodity than it is today. And so it wasn't always about throwing the piece of paper away and drawing it. It was, you see more and more and more, like that's where you see these like multiple hands just even drawn on the same arm. Which is kind of, again, it's because your brain is forced to do something different than when you throw it away. Like all those things, it's interesting to like the process that those artists went through, drawing from on the same sheet even. Like it's people don't understand. So when you're learning, one of the exercises of figure drawing, and I think that it's really valid, is that, I mean, I always drew really small, very intimate relationship with a sketchbook and really tiny drawing. And in animating, you want to free up your motion and all that kind of thing. And so in the figure drawing classes that we used to take, it was always on these big, huge pads of newsprint and using charcoal or very soft pencils and drawing with your arm. And which was unnatural to me, and I didn't like it. And then my tendency is always to tighten up and get smaller. And it was in animation school that I cracked a little bit in doing that, where it's understanding what it was doing to my brain. That physical movement, and drawing bigger and drawing broader and drawing, and it actually unlocked the process more in ways, like the physical action of drawing that big and drawing that fast and drawing that loose with a piece of charcoal changed the way I thought about the drawing and changed the way I thought about the movement and the timing. So again, it's almost like what the biological function is doing up here affects the creative process. And so I always think about that in terms of even like when you see like a sketchbook where someone has redrawn. Your brain's doing something different when they're doing that on a precious piece of paper as when it's doing it on just throwaway multiple pieces of paper. It's the connection that we don't make between the physical function and what it unlocks in our brains emotionally even is really weird, and is really, and until you do it, you don't get it.
It's something that's not replicated on the computer either. Like it doesn't feel the same. You will not get the same feeling, you won't remember it the same way. Like you won't be transported back to that moment if it's digitally. It's just there's something between you, and what's so nice about the traditional medium is there's nothing between you but air and your own judgment.
And
that's a big
that can be daunting. That can be daunting.
So
you teach too? Teach weekends?
The school year just finished, so I teach at Maxima.
What do you teach?
Actually. So principles of drawing, so that's first years. Learning how to draw, like from still life, and I also was teaching some layout too. But I would love to teach some life drawing. It looks like that could be a thing sometime soon.
So you get to unleash all of this.
Well, I already do in the principles of drawing class. I can't not. Get all like feng shui about it. But and I've done like workshops and stuff like that. I've done a while ago, I did some at Sheridan several years ago. I've done some workshops at U of T, and a lot of those particular, like the one-off workshops, will focus on loosening up, because I think that's like the biggest struggle, and like I'm inspired by like how much people want to, and just like I'm saddened by how I can see like this guilt. Like it's such a real thing in everyone, and it's like if we can just like let go of that, I think drawing for yourself will be way more enjoyable.